Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Friday, April the 14th. It's Good Friday, which I bring up not for a particular religious reason, except this is a quiet news day. People are beginning a long Easter weekend, so there's not a lot of news. And most of the news in Arkansas is associated with death. That is the 7 executions that the state plans to begin Monday unless a court intervenes. We're waiting now for news from federal court and also from the Arkansas Supreme Court, where a variety of appeals are still awaiting decisions on whether or not some or all of these executions will be delayed. There was a large protest at the state capitol this afternoon. It's underway as I'm taping this. Johnny Depp joined Westminster Memphis 3 defendant Damian Eccles among the crowd, asking the governor not to move ahead with the executions. He's made it clear that he's unlikely to stop them. Elsewhere, the big news came late last night with a filing in federal court in which 2 drug companies said they had seen redacted versions of labels of drugs that are going to be used in the executions, potassium chloride and midazolam. They say they believe they're their drugs. They think they were diverted from the normal supply chain. They say their drugs are not to be used for death but for life. They object to their use in this case. They've asked to intervene in the federal case. The federal judge is keeping that under watch as well. Wendy Kelly, the director of the Correction Department, was asked about these things late last night at the end of testimony shortly before 10 p.m. She was curt about it. She didn't want to say where the drugs came from. She said they were donated in some cases. I think that when you have a situation where the state is acting secretly and perhaps illicitly and getting drugs by a means not approved by the manufacturer, that maybe there's something wrong with our process if the state is in the business of drug dealing. In any event, we're waiting for news on that, and check the Arkansas blog to see what happens. On the Little Rock school front, opponents of a school tax vote that's scheduled May 9th in Arkansas went to the Election Commission last night and asked for more early polling places. The school district had planned to have more, but then shut it back down to one single early polling place, leaving out a black neighborhood. 5 legislators wrote a letter to the school district today urging them to restore more early polling places so more people can have access to the polls. Interesting school note, too, out of Kansas. You perhaps have heard the national story about some great journalism work done by a high school newspaper in Kansas that discovered a new principal had inflated her resume substantially as to education and experience. Well, interesting to find out in some further reporting on that case that this person who turned out to have bad credentials to be a high school principal in Kansas had been recommended by an executive search firm for 3 different superintendent jobs in Arkansas. This same firm, I want to say, brought us Dexter Suggs as Little Rock School Superintendent a few years ago. You may know that some additional reporting on him got him fired because he was a plagiarist. So sometimes these executive search firms don't get the job done. They say that's the state's job to do the checking. Well, sometimes it doesn't happen. An interesting note in Pulaski County one night this week, a Pulaski County deputy did something that police, I think, ought to do more often. He was observed a speeding motorcycle without proper lights, tried to chase it. The motorcyclist took off at a high rate of speed, executed some sharp turns. The deputy decided that it would be too great a risk to chase him, so he stopped the chase. Sound judgment, I think. As it happened, the motorcyclist crashed himself and is in critical condition in a hospital without benefit of the police being involved. Finally, more news from Donald Trump, the president. The White House visitor logs will be off record in the Trump administration. The public may not see them. This was something that began back in the Clinton days, and everybody wanted to know who was in the White House. Obama let some of his records be known, but not all of them. A court upheld secrecy. Donald Trump's going to take advantage of that, just as he has on his tax return, his business interests, and any number of other things. But that's what the voters elected. At least some of them, that's what they get. Others of us can keep resisting. I'm Max Brantley. I won't be back next week. I'm going down to see Cuba. So somebody else will fill in. Until then, resist.